What's up, guys? Kimchi Sauce here. I'm gonna give you a quick tip on how to make your hi-hat more natural on FL Studio. The thing with hi-hats, especially in the trap beats, is that they're usually quantized and on the same velocity. One thing that I've learned producing boom bap is that you want to give your hi-hat a more natural feel. In order to do that, you're just gonna play around with the velocity. That's one example that I like to use. In order to do that, just gonna go to your piano roll and play with the velocity, lower one out of two of them to make it more natural, like that. Boom, boom, boom. Let's give it a try. That was my quick tip on how to make your hi-hat more natural on FL Studio.
This is Smack Pack Season 1 finale.
We back, baby.
This is the cream of the crop. The best of the best.
Who you got your money on? The Bond is on his boom bap heavy. Jewels is like on some atmospheres, doing something totally different over there. Flames, emoji, a lot of thing happening with the crazy switch ups. Overlord, you know, that bounce is ridiculous. This is why I love hip hop music, man. It's just so colorful, you know what I mean? This is it. This is the grand finale. It's going down.
Crunch time for real. 3, 2, 1.
Step away
Right.
from the machine. Von Drummer, let's see what you got, baby. Drum game crazy.
Woo! I think it's Divine Drummer, bro.
Divine Drummer, congratulations, baby.
What's happening, Divine Drummer?
Hi, I'm Vinny Pagano, and I'm an audio engineer who's been in this industry for about 6 years. I've worked with a lot of major label artists and indie artists, and I'm going to use my experience from a lot of my sessions to teach you some of the skills that you need to have a more successful session. We're going to cover some topics like the gear that we're going to see in the studio. We're going to talk about some of the physics of sound. We're going to discuss how to record yourself at home, and we're going to talk about how to spice up your audio using plugins and audio effects. So grab your best pair of headphones and let's get into the mix.
I want to welcome everybody to the Sound Collective. We are a collective for you guys to come and meet as a community. We have a bunch of really awesome events planned for the summer. If you guys want to just dive in, learn Ableton, Logic, learn an instrument like drums, keyboard, vocals, any of that stuff, we'd love to have you, and we're really excited to build with you guys as a community. No further ado, I will introduce my brother, an amazing producer. Lefty's going to go ahead and do a breakdown.
Thank you everybody for coming out here for this. So this was like a topper, had some hats, some bongos and claps. I did an EQ to cut out some of the sharpness of the hat because it was conflicting with the other loops that I had in there playing hi-hats. Does anybody have any questions? We got another one here. Follow Sound Collective on Instagram to keep up with our events. Thank you guys for hanging out.
Hi, I'm Jay Franklin. Welcome to Making Money as a Songwriter in the Music Industry. In this course, you're going to learn what it takes to make money as a songwriter. We're going to talk about everything from administration to sync licensing to the crazy world of publishing. Also going to talk about royalties and how that affects your songwriting career. So I hope you're ready to learn all the ins and outs about what it takes to make money as a songwriter in the music industry. So let's get started.
Peace, everyone. My name is Divine Drummer. Been producing a little over 30 years. I've done tracks for the likes of Elder Sensei, Sadat X, Bumpy Knuckles, Georgia Ann Muldrow, Scatter RP, and Naps and Dreads, and a slew of others, man. I'm down at the Sound Collective today to show you about the beast of an app called Koala. This app is so fire. I promise you, you'll be making beats like no other. Once you check out my easy tutorials I have set, You'll learn how to import samples. You'll learn how to add effects to samples, filter samples. Hell, you're gonna even be able to make a bass line if you follow those steps. I promise you, this is so easy. Let's not waste no more time. Let's get into it.
What's up, guys? It's Nog. I'm here at Sound Collective for our industry mixer. This event is for all local DJs, artists, producers, and nightlife professionals to come and network with each other. Here at Sound Collective, we're going to be able to use a bunch of different production stations, booths, CDJs, and so many toys that are every audio producer's dream. This is the first of many events we're going to have at this venue with all these great artists and talent together, and you're going to have a chance to have all your tracks listened to and get some feedback as well, so stay tuned for more.
One cool thing to remember about the pocket operator when they're synced up all together is to make sure you set the volume for all of them. So I'm gonna go over here and press play on all the pocket operators. So the speak is gonna be the main volume out. So let's say I wanna turn down this. It's also gonna turn down the KO since it's connected to that one. So just make sure that all the sounds are set to a good amount, to a good volume. To learn more, go to soundcollective.com.
Honestly, the first person that I managed was this girl called Callie Reef. That she's on Dimmock right now. Nice. She was the first artist that I thought like, hey, maybe I should get into this arena. And there was a lot of, obviously I came in very green, like, you know, I didn't, know what I know now. But like, once I did get into it, I found that I enjoyed it. Like, after being a talent buyer and DJ at Webster Hall for so long, like, I hate to say it, but it got kind of like normal for me.
I feel that.
And so it was another challenge that kind of like got me up in the morning where like, okay, what do we do now? And then now, like with the artists that I manage, it's like I get that rush. When my artists like send me new songs and like, that nobody's heard before.
Hey, what's up? I'm Lefty.
And I'm Rich Furness, and welcome to Groove City. Lefty and I are both DJs and producers here in New York City. We also work here at the Sound Collective, and we run a record label called Quincy Boy Records with our boy N2N.
Yes, and we couldn't be more excited to bring this new podcast to you, where we bring DJ culture to the forefront, interviewing producers and DJs, telling their backstory, followed by a 30-minute DJ set. So we hope you enjoy it, and thanks so much for watching.
Much love.
I want to welcome everybody to the Sound Collective. We are a collective for you guys to come and meet as a community. We have a bunch of really awesome events planned for the summer. If you guys want to just dive in, learn Ableton, Logic, learn an instrument like drums, keyboard, vocals, any of that stuff, we'd love to have you, and we're really excited to build with you guys as a community. No further ado, I will introduce my brother, an amazing producer. Lefty's going to go and do a breakdown.
Thank you everybody for coming out here for this. So this was like a topper. Had some hats, some bongos and claps. I did an EQ to cut out some of the sharpness of the hat because it was conflicting with the other loops that I had in there, playing hi-hats. Does anybody have any questions? We got another one here. Follow Sound Collective on Instagram to keep up with our events. Thank you guys for hanging out.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's me, Ski Beats at Sound Collective. Welcome to the dojo. Well, for those who don't know me, I'm a hip-hop producer. Did some cool records with some cool artists, Jay-Z, Camp Lo. Man, look, the list goes on. Basically, the dojo is a community-based type of thing, man, because it's all about, everybody lifting each other up. And what they say, still sharpens still, so bring your swords to the dojo. The first thing I'm gonna do off bat is give you a sample, give you 30 minutes, see if you can flip it. That way I can test your skill level. We're gonna get into composing, how to arrange your music, how to sequence your beats. It's all different types of techniques, man, when it comes to production. You can do anything, bruh. It's the dojo. It's where we turn students into senseis.
like to think of it as almost having a separate volume knob.
So for the DJ Intensive, I went down and got really nitty-gritty into the details on how to get a DJ gig from a complete beginner.
In Manhattan, as I realized, there's no place to play drums, and so originally I was looking for a spot to just play drums. And I came upon this place through a Google search and kind of started scrolling through and seeing everything that is available here. And I'm not a DJ, or at least I wasn't a DJ, but I've always been curious about it. So I came in and I talked to the guys, and they put me into this DJ Intensive, and 2 weeks into it, I'm getting pretty comfortable doing it.
We'll be teaching the art of mixing, which is transitions, going from one song to the next, holding some of those transitions, which can also be looked at as a mashup or a blend, remixing, and some basic DJing skills like cuts, scratches, and the idea of playing what you like and also catering to the crowd, and find that happy balance between introducing people to new music and also giving them a little bit of what they enjoy, and finding a creative way to do that.
Through my techniques, I can teach you how to create the music and then get it to the right record labels. I usually do DJ instructions, how to use Pioneer turntables, music production using Ableton or Logic, and I'll show you exactly how you can create something from nothing and make it a big banger.
A big part of this program is learning about the music industry and how to promote yourself, and what it takes to do music production, which is also part of this DJ class, what it takes to get your name out there, what it takes to contact record companies or distribution companies, a whole lot of the business stuff that I also had never really thought about. So see where it goes.
My teaching style is kind of like the Bruce Lee, be like water. It's like the style of no style, whatever fits at the time. So if I see somebody needs a little bit more encouragement, I'll be a little bit more suggestive, or maybe you could do this. Sometimes people get stuck and get caught in their head.
It would take me forever to buy equipment and get it set up and try to figure it out on my own or through YouTube videos or things like that. But being able to come in here and all this equipment just available and guys here to just very patiently walk me through it. It was a crash course. I learned more in this 2 weeks than I could have learned in a year easily.
And then not only do I like to just teach, I kind of like to connect afterwards and make sure that you're still on the right path. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to just take this course and kind of feel like you're left with nowhere or no type of guidance. I can be that type of guidance for you.
I'm going to take that knowledge and kind of sit down and diligently work through what I want to do. But ultimately, I want to get some songs out. I want to play out and just kind of see where it goes.
But as far as DJ skills, the dude that blew me away, that I was just like, you know what, I should just fucking quit right now, was when we had DJ EZ play at Webster Hall.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What made that so special?
I mean, skill-wise, the guy is unmatched. He would literally cue up a song, figure out what the tone is at the very beginning, right? Disengage master pitch and then bring it down to the tone and match the tone to the song that's playing before.
That's next level.
And then he'd hit cue, dun, 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 in beat to the other song in the same key.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean, that became such a thing too, like the tone play stuff.
Right.
A lot of DJs now specifically are doing that. And now it's easier because there's software ability to be able to match those things. But to do it back then was nuts.
What's up guys, Kimchi Sauce here. I'm gonna give you a quick tip on how to make your hi-hat more natural on FL Studio. The thing with hi-hats, especially in the trap beats, is that they're usually quantized and on the same velocity. One thing that I've learned producing boom bap is that you want to give your hi-hat a more natural feel. In order to do that, you're just going to play around with the velocity. That's one example that I like to use. In order to do that, just going to go to your piano roll and play with the velocity, lower 1 out of 2 of them to make it more natural, like that. Boom, boom, boom. Let's give it a try. That was my quick tip on how to make your hi-hat more natural on FL Studio.
So if we take 2-5-1 chord progression, we can create some different sounds with our 7th chords.
Now, full disclosure, I relearn how to use compression a few times a year.
Let's go ahead and record some audio.
Did you know that until the early 1900s, there was no mass duplication technology? So musicians had to record over and over again for every single that was ordered. So if 100 people wanted a copy, the artists and their musicians would have to record 100 times. Technically, every record was an original. Fast forward many years and lots of new technology later, the music industry has been completely transformed by technology. Nowadays, records are judged by their reproducibility, and we even give out plaques for how many copies are sold. To learn more about all the ways technology has impacted the music industry, and to learn how to take advantage of those new ways, visit soundcollective.com.
Hi, I'm Jay Franklin. Welcome to Making Money as a Songwriter in the Music Industry. In this course, you're going to learn what it takes to make money as a songwriter. We're going to talk about everything from administration to sync licensing to the crazy world of publishing. Also going to talk about royalties and how that affects your songwriting career. So I hope you're ready to learn all the ins and outs about what it takes to make money as a songwriter in the music industry. So let's get started.
So if we take 2-5-1 chord progression, we can create some different sounds with our 7th chords.
Now, full disclosure, I relearn how to use compression a few times a year.
Let's go ahead and record some audio.
Peace, everyone. My name is Divine Drummer. Been producing a little over 30 years. I've done tracks for the likes of Elder Sensei, Sadat X, Bumpy Knuckles, Georgia Ann Muldrow, Scatter RP, and Naps and Dreads, and a slew of others, man. I'm down at the Sound Collective today to show you about the beast of an app called Koala. This app is so fire. I promise you, you'll be making beats like no other. Once you check out my easy tutorials I have set, you'll learn how to import samples. You'll learn how to add effects to samples, filter samples. Hell, you're gonna even be able to make a bass line if you follow those steps. I promise you, this is so easy. Let's not waste no more time. Let's get into it.
So for the DJ Intensive, I went down and got really nitty-gritty into the details on how to get a DJ gig from a complete beginner.
In Manhattan, as I realized, there's no place to play drums, and so originally I was looking for a spot to just play drums. And I came upon this place through a Google search and kind of started scrolling through and seeing everything that is available here. And I'm not a DJ, or at least I wasn't a DJ, but I've always been curious about it. So I came in and I talked to the guys, and they put me into this DJ Intensive, and 2 weeks into it, I'm getting pretty comfortable doing it.
We'll be teaching the art of mixing, which is transitions, going from one song to the next, holding some of those transitions, which can also be looked at as a mashup or a blend, remixing, and some basic DJing skills like cuts, scratches, and the idea of playing what you like and also catering to the crowd, and find that happy balance between introducing people to new music and also giving them a little bit of what they enjoy, and finding a creative way to do that.
Through my techniques, I can teach you how to create the music and then get it to the right record labels. I usually do DJ instructions, how to use Pioneer turntables, music production using Ableton or Logic, and I'll show you exactly how you can create something from nothing and make it a big banger.
A big part of this program is learning about the music industry and how to promote yourself, and what it takes to do music production, which is also part of this DJ class, what it takes to get your name out there, what it takes to contact record companies or distribution companies, a lot of the business stuff that I also had never really thought about. So see where it goes.
My teaching style is kind of like the Bruce Lee be like water. It's like the style of no style, whatever fits at the time. So if I see somebody needs a little bit more encouragement, I'll be a little bit more suggestive, or maybe you could do this. Sometimes people get stuck and get caught in their head.
It would take me forever to buy equipment and get it set up and try to figure it out on my own or through YouTube videos or things like that. But being able to come in here and all this equipment just available and guys here to just very patiently walk me through it. It was a crash course. I learned more in this 2 weeks than I could have learned in a year easily.
And then not only do I like to just teach, I kind of like to connect afterwards and make sure that you're still on the right path. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to just take this course and kind of feel like you're left with nowhere or no type of guidance. I can be that type of guidance for you.
I'm going to take that knowledge and kind of sit down and diligently work through what I want to do. But ultimately, I want to get some songs out. I want to play out and just kind of see where it goes.
Honestly, the first person that I managed was this girl called Callie Reef. That she's on Dimmock now. Nice. She was the first artist that I thought like, hey, maybe I should get into this arena. And there was a lot of, obviously, I came in very green. Like, I didn't, know what I know now. But like, once I did get into it, I found that I enjoyed it. Like, after being a talent buyer and DJ at Webster Hall for so long, like, I hate to say it, but it got kind of like normal for me.
I feel that.
And so it was another challenge that kind of like got me up in the morning, where like, okay, what do we do now? And then now, like with the artists that I manage, it's like I get that rush when my artists like send me new songs, and like that nobody's heard before.
This is Smack Pack Season 1 finale.
We back, baby.
This is the cream of the crop, the best of the best.
Who you got your money on? Devon is on his boom bap heavy. Jewels is like on some atmospheres, doing something totally different over there. Flames, emoji, melodic thing happening with the crazy switch ups. Overlord, that bounce is ridiculous. This is why I love hip hop music, man. It's just so colorful, you know what I mean? This is it. This is the grand finale. It's going down.
Crunch time for real. 3, 2, 1.
Step away from the machine. Von Drummer, let's see what you got, baby. Drum game crazy.
Woo! I think it's Devon Drummer, bro.
Devon Drummer, congratulations, baby.
What's happening, Divine Drummer?
This is Smack Pack Season 1 finale.
We back, baby.
This is the cream of the crop. The best of the best.
Who you got your money on? Devon is on his boom bap heavy. Jewels is like on some atmospheres, doing something totally different over there. Flames, emoji, melodic thing happening with the crazy switch ups. Overlord, that bounce is ridiculous. This is why I love hip hop music, man. It's just so colorful, you know what I mean? This is it. This is the grand finale. It's going down.
Crunch time for real. 3, 2, 1.
Step away from the machine. Von Drummer, let's see what you got, baby. Drum game crazy.
Woo! I think it's Devon Drummer, bro.
Devon Drummer, congratulations, baby.
What's happening, Divine Drummer?
But as far as DJ skills, the dude that blew me away, that I was just like, you know what? I should just fucking quit right now. Was when we had DJ EZ play at Webster Hall.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What made that so special?
I mean, skill-wise, the guy is unmatched. He would literally cue up a song, figure out what the tone is at the very beginning, right?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Let's go and bring the DJ stations down. I want to welcome everybody here to the Sound Collective. Hey, I now got a beat to it. I want to welcome you all to the Sound Collective. I'm Rich Furness, the president here at the Sound Collective. We're trying to create a, thank you so much, Alex. We're trying to create a space for artists and creatives to be able to come and collaborate, connect, and network, and that's why we're doing these event series every week to go ahead and have you guys be able to interact with each other, meet, hopefully some collabs come out of this. And then we're also doing these workshops where hopefully you guys can pull some knowledge and learn some things within the artistry. And as a thank you for everybody coming today, we're giving everybody a free month on our online platform if you guys are interested. The promo code is just Alex English, easy to remember. But now, woo! With no further ado, a man that needs no introduction. I feel like he has shaped a lot of artists here in New York City. I met him when I moved out here 13 years ago. Alex English.
Hello, everybody. Let me get this together. Okay. Can you hear me okay? Okay. First of all, thank you for coming. Thank you to Sound Collective, Rich, and Alex for having me. This is an honor to be here. Yeah. Can you tell I've not done this before? All right. Well, so basically, my name is Alex English. Yeah. There we go. Okay. My name is Alex English. I currently am a manager. I run a company called Seahorse Management. Some of my artists are Quarter, Sasha Rome, Savas is here, Proper Villains. They're all here tonight. Basically, I started the company back in 2019. I started doing artist management around 2015, very serendipitously. It wasn't something that I decided to do. It's something that I kind of grew into. So a lot of the things I'll be talking about tonight is for either artists that want to know to get questions answered of what they should be doing with their career, and also other managers that might want to start their own business. All right. So let's start off with this. Basically, I get a lot of artists that message me like through Instagram, Twitter. They ask me a lot of questions like, "Hey, how should I do this? How should I do that?" And so the majority of this talk is basically I'm going to be answering all the questions that people really they feel they're stupid questions, and I'm a believer that there's no such thing as a stupid question. Like you don't learn unless you ask. So I'm going to go through some of the basics. So one of the first things is your name, like your artist name. You know, like it could be a nickname that you had like since you were 5, all right, and you're like very dead set on that name. But here's the problem. It could be that name could have other artists that have already used that name. So you're in a situation where like, well, there's 5 people that are named this on Spotify. What do I do? So the first thing is very off the top is branding. You have to have a unique name that's very easily Googleable through there's things like SEO that you need to consider. That like, so you have to have a unique name, a unique spelling of your brand. Like it can't be like something as simple as like visors, okay? Because if you Google visors, you're gonna see a bunch of hats. All right, even my own name. I mean, Alex English. If you Google my name, you'll see a basketball player from the Denver Nuggets. You know, like the second person up on there is a folk artist, a woman from New Jersey. Her name is Alex English as well. All right, like there's a comedian called Alex English that writes for SNL. All right, but if you put DJ Alex English, it's all me. All right, like so the very first thing is I can't emphasize enough to have a unique name, unique spelling of your brand, because that'll follow you. Like, for example, for social media, Twitter, your Twitter handle, your Instagram handle should all be the same thing. All right. Sometimes artists like will have a situation where like one handle is different because somebody else has that name. So again, the way around it, if you insist on having a name that other people have, then you should look into trademarking that brand. Going to some researching some legal situation to trademark that brand. So that way you can actually like, you know, what's that? If challenge somebody else's brand, and usually you can sort that out. All right. So second thing. So basically, you've made a track, and what do? Like, you know, you're like, maybe you don't have a manager, maybe you do have a manager. What is the first thing you do, right? Like, so the first thing most people ask me is like, well, I wanna shop my demos to record labels. So right off the bat, most people will have the tendency to send out an email that's, you know, they'll put their bio, they'll put 9 million links, and then before you know it, it becomes 5 paragraphs long, all right? That's not the way to do it. Like, if you're going to approach people in this industry, you have to realize that most of them are going through 9 million demos, 9 million emails, and you want to make your presentation as short and sweet as possible. Anything else that you know, like if you have an EPK, a bio, or anything like that, put it in a link. Put it in go get a Dropbox account. Put it in a link. Put it in the Dropbox, and then what's that? They can click on that. So the body of the email, literally just introducing yourself, and like explaining, you know, obviously saying like, you know, I'm a big fan of your label. You know, I've been playing, rinsing out a lot of your tracks, that kind of thing. You know, don't just be like, hey, this is my track, whatever. You should have your other information, like if there's a thing called an EPK in a one sheet, that should be all in a link. Because the person can like click on it on their own time. Like if they see it, when they see an email with a massive like explanation of who you are, likely they're not going to read it. All right. EPK. What is an EPK? Like electronic press kit. All right. Usually that is like a summary of what you've done. All right. I'm going to show you a few things. Give me a second here. All right. So this is my artist quarter. This particular EPK is specifically for film and TV. All right. She has an EPK on her website that's specifically for music. So this, as you can see, you know, like very easily you can see what she's about, what she's done. There's examples of her work, like you know, like she's done a documentary with Donna Summer. She's synced 4 of her tracks on a Hulu film called Fire Island. You know, like some of the other work she's done with Splice. Like it's, you know, if I was cold calling somebody and I didn't know who they were and I sent them this, it's an easy reference for them to like figure out who you are and what you're doing in your career. All right. So I'm going to show you music EPK. This one's a little bit more advanced. So I'm going to show you something that's like that I created when I started working with an artist. One second. There it is. All right. Sorry, it's hard to find them out. The pointer. All right. So this is an artist I used to work with. Her name is Lizzie Jane. Okay. So right off the bat, that's her bio. Down here are all her social links. These are functional. I can actually click on them. It'll bring you to all her pages, right? Here, some of her press, Daily Beat, EDM Sauce, a few of her releases. So that also these are clickable, so you can like basically like check out her music right away. You know, like. You know, the hero shot, you know, like, you know, you want to show them like, you know, like at one of your gigs, when like great photo, and that's a basic EPK. At this point, do any of you have any questions about EPKs and like what you should be presenting, or what you should be putting together as an artist. Yeah.
So I DJ, I haven't produced. So in that section where she has her tracks there,
So that's easy. So basically, like obviously you've DJ'd like many gigs, some of them smaller, some of them bigger. So instead of having tracks there, you can have some of your, this could be a flyer to one of your bigger shows. Oh, I opened for Skrillex here, or or I opened for Zed here, like that kind of thing. So like, so you want to basically show a resume of what you've done, like presenting yourself to record labels, management, anybody in the music industry is no different from applying for a job and having a resume with you, okay? So now, like, what should be on your resume? Like a lot of people, they think like, okay, like I need to show the biggest stuff, right? So that's not necessarily true. You want to show them a journey, okay? You want to show them growth. That's the biggest key. Like you want to show not only the person you're talking to, just the industry as a whole, that you started here, and it's incremental growth throughout your career, because that'll inform them that like, hey, you know what? If I'm a promoter and I want to hire you, I know that you can handle a crowd this small. I know you can handle a medium crowd. I also know you can handle a large crowd. All right, like that matters. Like you can't just think like, okay, like conversely, like if I myself, I started DJing in small bars. Like I didn't have like, like yes, eventually I started DJing at bigger venues. But the thing is, it's like I didn't get those bigger venues if I didn't show my journey. If I didn't show other promoters that like I guess the term is like show my dues, essentially, right? So one second. All right. Another thing that I get asked about all the time is who should I be networking with? Everybody's like, most people have the tendency to network upwards. Like they'll go to an event, it's like, oh, I gotta meet Skrillex. I gotta meet so and so. It's like, like that's actually not. I mean, there have been cases where, he's met people and like, okay, like let's do something. My advice to you is to network outwards in parallel. It's very, very, very important to be part of a community, okay? As the community grows, you grow. Like, let me ask you guys, like, like you guys remember when dubstep first became big in New York, right? Like, massive movement, all right? But at the very beginning in the United States, there was only like, people could only, there was what, Caspa, Rusko, like Nero, like people could name. Like eventually that scene grew. That scene grew in the United States. You started having American dubstep artists, and the thing is, most of those people like grew like in parallel with each other together. All right, and then therefore there was a movement that started happening in the United States that the UK was like, hey, dude, something happening in the United States. Like it wasn't just about it. It was no longer a bunch of like UK artists, right? So you want to be a part of that group. You want to grow with that group, and some of those relationships that you have with you create with those artists could become some of your best contacts down the line. Like maybe somebody in your crew, like, gets on a label that all of you always wanted. You know, like, because you have that network, eventually that person's gonna have like a show, and they're like, you know, who do you want to, promoters like, the promoter's gonna ask, who do you want for support? You know, they're gonna be like, hey, can I have some of my old crew with me? You know, so it's a lot easier to get the attention of people that's around you than somebody that's above you. So a lot of artists, they waste their time trying to get the attention of somebody above them, and they get all bothered and pissed off, like, why is nobody paying attention to me? Is because you're not paying attention to what's in front of you, all right? Which is literally the community. You can basically succeed a lot better if you just pay attention to your community around you, all right? So, you know, which brings me to the point of like, you know, like you're at a point in your career, you think like, hey, I need a manager, right? So not all managers are the same. Some managers are smaller than others. Some managers are huge. Like, you know, like there's big companies that have a huge roster. You know, like you kind of have to kind of figure out where you are at in your career. You know, like, and a lot of artists change management throughout their career. You know, like for example, Lizzie Jane, when I was managing her, she wanted to do harder dubstep stuff. Now she wants to do more melodic things, and at the time, I couldn't facilitate that for her, so she decided to get new management. So like, there isn't a formula to figure this out. It's just being aware and talking to talking to your community, comparing notes. Like, hey, who do you know? Like, what did they say here and here? That kind of thing. Like, the biggest thing is to be informed. Ask all the questions that you need to ask, not only to your peers, but like, you know, I get asked some of the quote unquote dumbest questions on Instagram. You know, like, I happen to have a little bit more time than most, so I answer them. You know, like I tell them like, hey, you know, like, you should do this, you should do that. What's that? So back to the whole thing, like you're looking for a manager. So, so first off, like going with the biggest person, like because there's like they're part of like a group that seems like a large entity that manages. Maybe not. That's not always the right way to go. Okay, because you also have to consider if you're a smaller artist and like you go with management that has, you know, like that has like, you know, like 20 artists on the roster. Like, but you're a starting artist. You need a little bit more attention to figure out what you're doing. So maybe going with a manager that only has 3 or 4 artists is the way to go. You know, like you can ask your if you go with a smaller manager, you know, you can ask them all the questions that you want, like, and you won't necessarily feel that you're taking up their time, because that's another thing that's brought up to me a lot through that other people ask me, that I feel so bad asking my manager this because he seems so busy. Okay, like speaking to that, I think it's very important that you connect with a manager that loves your music. There's a lot of managers out there that like they pick up artists because they see the potential amount of money they can make. Okay, so like if you can tell right away if a manager is really into your music. If they talk about the music they like, what you know, like you compare notes and you're like, hey, I'm really into this, and they're like, oh yeah, I was just listening to that. You know, like those are important things. What's that? If I'm sure many of you have had shows where you've gotten backstage access. That's actually, you know, like a good place to like start talking to people. You know, like, some of the people that's here today, you know, that's part of my company. Like they know people in the industry because they've hung out backstage at Webster Hall. You know, like, and they've had intelligent conversations with them. That's the key. You can't have like stupid conversations with people backstage. You have to be very aware of who you're talking to, and you have to have intent. Let me stop there, and if there's any questions about what I've just said so far, like, let me know. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. And then maybe it's a two-part thing, so maybe that for one, and then two, like, in your mind, what's the different roles that like a manager should play versus an agent? Okay. So let's talk about your team. So eventually an artist should have a manager. That's the first thing. Second thing, first or second thing really. Second thing is a booking agent. Third thing is a PR company. Fourth thing is a lawyer. Okay. Those four things. There's other things that you can get down the line, like a business advisor, like when you get to a point where you're making money, and to be a smart person, not a smart artist. You know, like for example, in the NBA, there are so many players in the NBA they sign massive contracts, and they don't bring on a money manager or a business manager, and they basically spend all their money. They don't invest in other things that could actually be passive income for them. On the subject of income, I'm getting to answering your question. A lot of artists, when they first get signed to a manager or signed to an agent, they automatically think, okay, I've made it. I'm going to go quit my day job. All right. No. A lot of people think they're like, oh, I've made it. Like, you should hold on to your day job until your schedule doesn't allow it. Like either your schedule doesn't allow it, or the income that you're making as an artist gets to a point where like, okay, I can let go of my day job. All right, because I just mentioned to you PR. I just mentioned to you a lawyer. Those things cost money. All right, if you're getting $500 once a month to open up for somebody, like, I don't think that's enough to pay for those things. You know, like, so like, you know, having your day job to supplement what you're doing is very important. Now, to answer your question about like gauging I think your question for everybody else, I think his question was gauging what your worth is, how much money you should be charging. That's a twofold answer. One, back to the resume situation that I was talking about. If you don't have a resume of shows or a show history, like that says like, hey, I played here, and played here, then likely your fee is going to be very low. All right, that's number one. Two, if you're headlining, okay, there's a thing in contracts called the gross potential. That's basically the ticket price times the capacity of the venue. All right, minus net the cost of putting together the event. All right, so once you figure that out, you know, like depending on your following, like if you have a huge following, like there's for example, there's something called a door deal that most bands, if you're in a band, and I'm mostly talking about DJs, but this will answer this question. If you're in a band, most time you're given a door deal, which is usually 70-30, 80-20 split at the door. The venue holds 20 or 30 to pay for their cost, and then you walk away with 70 to 80%. Having said that, you can apply the same math to what your rate should be. It should be a little bit lower than the whole 70 or 80%. You should also check in with other artists that's on your level, like what they're making. You know, like again, why I emphasize about networking in parallel and outwards, because you wouldn't have that information if you're wasting your time trying to like get somebody's attention that's a lot bigger than you. Like so, like knowing your worth through your relationships is a huge thing that that people should be aware of, because otherwise you'd get taken advantage of. Does that answer your question? Okay. Anyone else? Okay, let's move on. Another thing that I get asked a lot, back to the whole like pitching your music, you know, like a lot of artists, they do what I call, a lot of young artists do what I call chasing a release. All right, like, oh, okay, I have this release. Okay, what's next? What should we do next? And then, so they write music in between releases. That's actually a very frustrating, and also it'll burn you out. So what I always tell my own artists is that I will tell them, like, look, can you set aside maybe a month or two just specifically writing music? Like, do all the research that you want. Like, if Bicep is doing a technique that you're like dying to figure out, you know, during that time, go on YouTube and find out how to do that technique. All right, like, so the reason I do this is because you have to have a plan with your releases. Like, you wanna like, you know, like, once you have like maybe, you know, 15 to 20 songs, then you get together with your manager, and you basically like, hey, these are the labels I want to be on. All right, and then like, so then you kind of together figure out, well, this song sounds like it should go here. This song should go here, and you should also like do a, what's that? You shouldn't try to sign. I don't think you should try to sign your biggest song right away. Again, what I said earlier, showing a journey, and doing something a little smaller, and then growing into like something a little bit bigger. So like, yes, maybe you wrote a banger, and it should be released by this label. Maybe wait to send that demo to that label. Maybe release something a little bit smaller to establish your name. All right. Also, for new artists, like, they've not gone through this, so it could be like a crash test dummy situation where like, hey, I've not gone through this whole process. Let me learn this on a smaller label. I don't want to try to like do this on a bigger label and not understand everything that's going on. All right. So I think it's you know, like, you know, usually, you know, some of my artists, when they send me their whips, you know, it's usually 20 to 45 songs deep. Okay, and then we literally go through everything and kind of plan everything out. On that note, with with developing your music, it's important to start getting into good habits. You know, like having a schedule of like maybe twice a week. Work on your music, work on what you're doing. It does, and it's not always going to sound good. Some of it's going to sound like absolute shit. All right, but the thing is, like, you have to go through that process of like making absolute shit to make your best stuff down the line. All right, like, and then just getting into a schedule of a regimented schedule of maybe on one, maybe one day you don't really want to make a whole track, but there's this new plugin that everybody's fucking talking about, right? Download that plugin, figure it out. Like, I have a saying, like, I'm pretty old school. Like, I'm 49 years old, so like, I have a saying, like, I particularly, like, I make music myself. When I buy a new piece of gear, I usually learn it to the point that I'm making it do something that it wasn't designed to do. Okay, like, it's very important to understand what the tools you have and getting to maximizing what you have in front of you. Like, just because you bought, like, I don't know, like the Native Instruments, the whole suite, right, doesn't mean that you're ready. All right, like, I know producers that use mostly free plugins. Their DAW is Reaper, that's free. All right, they will literally Google, like, all right, what's like the compressor that everybody is using, and they'll Google, like, free version of this compressor. All right, like, you can like literally have a whole studio at your fingertips without, like, breaking the bank. And another bit about that is that, like, sometimes less is more. Knowing five pieces of software or 5 pieces of hardware will take you further in your music than downloading 50 plugins and not knowing they even exist on your hard drive. Okay, like, the key is to regularly have a schedule, whether or not your intention is writing a track or learning the tools that you're trying to write your songs with. All right. With that, does anybody have questions about production? All right. Now, there's a part, like, I also do A&R with some of my artists. So I'm going to show you some notes. So first off, let's take a listen. Actually, no. So this is notes for a song. Oh, no, actually, no, this is advance. Sorry. Actually, let's go through this now, and then I'll get to the notes. So many of you have, had gigs. So this is what, so Maddie is my TM at the company. So, like, if Quarter has a gig, like, you want to have all the information that's been given to you by the agent, the promoter, all in one place so you know what's going on. All right. So, as you can see, there's the day of show contact, DOS, that's what it stands for. Phone number, so you can, like, alert them that you're coming, what time you're coming, the address, obviously, and then the Ross or the run of the show. There's, so that's your set time. We always do it. We always highlight it. There's things like a writer. If it's there's a tech writer, there's also a hospitality writer. Like, if you have visuals, your logo usually, right? If, like, you have to, if the venue is paying for your travel, like, let's say you're they've said like they'll take care of your Uber to the venue. So confirming that's been sorted out. Where are you staying? Like what hotel will you be at? And she likes to do a little joke at the end of her emails. So, does anybody have questions about what an advance is? All right. All right. Back to A&R notes. Let me go through what a writer looks like first. So if you're wondering what a tech writer or a hospitality writer is, basically, number 3 just tells the venue what you need, like what kind of equipment that you prefer. Sometimes they'll have it on hand. Sometimes they won't. If they don't, usually it's up to you to rent it. They'll ask you that the venue will usually have somebody they rent from all the time. They'll tell you, hey, this is the rate. If you want this specific mixer, it's going to cost $250 or whatever. They'll rent it for you. And here's the rock and roll part. Okay, the hospitality. All right. Just basics like you want. Bottled water, what kind of alcohol you want. Some cases they give you food, right? They just it's basically everything that an artist needs to perform for that particular show. Does anybody have questions about a writer? I'm going to go into A&R notes. I had a whole presentation on a different computer, and they wouldn't start, so I had to screenshot all of this and send it to these guys. All right. So usually, my artists, they send me a track that they've been working on, and obviously I take a listen. So right off the bat, what I do is I have reference tracks. Here it's Reload, Andrea Parker, Autecker. And basically I try to figure out what music to me does this sound like, and what can we take away from some of these tracks that might inform the track you're working on. First off, let's take a listen to the track that we're talking about. So that's Minha by Quarter and Coffin Tex. So right off the bat, let's take a listen to some of my reference tracks. Okay, so that song was Second Bad Bible by Alltecker. So at the end of that track, you saw that it kind of the track dropped the beat and had like that what's that? I guess transition. So in Minha, I played towards the middle of the track. She incorporated something similar to it, not exactly the same. Okay, that's the key. Is to not copy what's going on, but like having a basic idea of specific techniques other people are doing that you could use in your own tracks. Part of the reason I've been going through this is that, like not a lot of artists at the very beginning of their career, like have the experience of going through an A&R session. Most labels have an A&R department. Like whether you like it or not, there's people that's going to have their 2 cents with what your music sounds like. Some labels are great, like they'll just leave you alone and you can make whatever you want. But let me just remind you, you made the decision that you wanted to be on this label, right? So you kind of have to like listen to what they have to say. You don't necessarily have to listen and implement everything that they say. For example, in these notes, number 3 under Home Fasme, right, in the middle slide, I say to her, I think there should be some laser fills like in this track. She actually rejected that. She was like, okay, I don't need those laser fills. One thing that she did accept, number 1, I sent I attached an MP3 with a Dorley remix of "Get Your Freak On" by Missy Elliott, and it had a bass line that wasn't there at the very beginning, the first version of her track. She thought that would work really well with her music, and she was like, "Okay, let me make something like that," right? I think this is a second version of notes, but at some point there was a snare drum that was in the original track that was buried. Like the frequency was really low, and it was competing with some of the low frequencies of the track in general. So I told them to bring it up, so there would be more definition, and there would be and also more noticeable. Like again, the specifics of this track is not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is that you have to be open. You should be open to criticism. It's constructive criticism. Like there's a difference between somebody just telling you your track sucks and somebody actually trying to help you, like with developing your sound. Part of the reason I even give reference tracks is because I know for a fact that she's a fan of those three artists. All right, so right off the bat, like I'm speaking her language, so she understands where I'm coming from. I'm not just telling her like, hey, like Taylor Swift did this. Why don't you do this on this track? You know what I mean? So that's something most managers, from what I know, don't really do this. I do this. I think it's a great way for me to connect with my artist and really understand what they're about and what they're trying to do. Because later on, like when we're having other conversations of like, oh, who should I be touring with? Who should I be doing support with? I already have all that information because I went through this process with them. That's something that I feel that's necessary, not only to get to know your artist, but also just to, even for the artist to get to know your manager, how they think, how, like whether or not you guys have things in common, because those things will actually matter down the line. Like again, when I said to you that your manager should love your music. Like if I didn't love her music, I wouldn't go out of my way to do this. All right. All right, so that's it for the little A&R section. All right, so what else do you need? Another question that I get asked a lot is like how to start a business. Like depending on how much income you're making, it might be time to start an LLC, all right? So maybe even get a credit card in the name of the LLC, so that way when it comes time for taxes, everything is all neat, because that's another thing that a lot of artists don't even realize, that like you're suddenly thrown into a situation where you're getting paid a lot of money, and managing your money and dealing with taxes is a big thing. I usually tell people, like, if you make $500 on something, take half of it and put it away in either a different account or even a savings account. Don't even think about that as your money. Okay, like if you do it that way, then like when it comes to reconciling your taxes down the line, like you've already paid for it because you've left it alone, either in your savings or a different account. Like it's something that a lot of artists get in trouble in. They don't, again, with the whole money manager thing, like you should be knowledgeable about how to deal with all these things, like financial things in your career. Again, like when you start talking to a manager, these are the kind of things that you should be asking about. Like, like some management they clear through their company, like where, like for example, like if I have 5 artists playing tonight, then the promoter or the agent will pay my company and I pay them. There's other structures you can do where like that's more artist friendly, where your manager is your employee, where like they're employee under your LLC and that you pay them, right? Like where basically you get paid directly to your LLC, and then you pay your manager whatever percentage that you've agreed upon. Which brings me to how much should you be paying everybody on your team? Usually, management percentage can range anywhere from 10 to 20%, depending on the level of your manager and what they can do for you. What's that? I myself take between 10 to 20%. In my case, like I usually, if I take 20%, is usually with the intention to make the team larger down the line. Like, let's say, you know, like, I think I'm smart enough to realize that I don't know how to do everything, that later down the line, my artists will need to address certain things that I don't know how to do. Maybe there's another manager that I've met that like, oh my God, like, you're doing something addressing something that I want to do with my artists. So I'll bring them in, make a deal with them. So I've asked for 20% initially, so I'll break 20% off in half. You take 10%, I'll take 10%. Now my artist's needs are met. I'm like, you're not stuck with a manager that doesn't know how to do something. Your manager is actively doing something for you, so that way it addresses your future needs. Like, for example, a lot of times artists just think I'm making music and I'm releasing records. Eventually, that, you know, some artists want to score video games, they want to score movies, they want to do commercials. That's a whole another skill set. So let's say I don't know how to do that, okay, and then I partner up with somebody else that does. So that's why you want to have that flexibility with the people that's representing you. What's that? Let's talk about income verticals. So the way you're going to be making money as an artist is obviously from releasing music. That's number one. Okay. Number two, there's things called sync licensing. Okay. That's another way to make money, whether it's through, that's usually film, TV, video games. There's merchandising. Again, merchandising is a situation where you want to, you know, obviously if you have 300 followers on SoundCloud, you're not gonna like decide to like, hey, make 300 T-shirts to sell on your website, right? Like it's something that you have to kind of like consider where you're at. There's brand deals. What's that? For example, my artist Quarter is, you know, she does stuff with a company called Brooklinen. It's kind of like the hipster version of Bed Bath and Beyond, right? Like, so she's doing her second event with them in July. She was just recently part of Armani Exchange. What's that? Like promotion, basically. She, I won't say how much we made, but at the same time, it was part of a situation where there was other artists like Baltra. There was at least 5 other artists involved in this thing. So, you know, like there's other ways to make money in this industry other than just like releasing music, and obviously the last one is DJ gigs, right? So these are the things that you should be looking into, like whether or not maybe you're not ready for certain things that I've just said, like, but informing yourself and doing the homework and understanding what they are down the line, and then maybe later on you're ready to like, you know, like obviously scoring a film is a huge undertaking. You know, like if you don't know how to, you know, like how to write an orchestration, like, and you're trying to say that like you should be doing something that Hans Zimmer is doing, it's like then maybe you shouldn't be scoring a film. But then again, there's other films like The Social Network and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails did the music for that, and largely those two films are based on sound design and not necessarily orchestral work. Okay, something that that actually might be more attainable for other artists that aren't classically trained. You know, so there's definitely different things that you can like explore down the line. You know, let me pause again to see if any of you guys have any questions. All right. Yes. Actually, could you come over here and like talk into the mic?
Hello. Hi. Hi, I'm Jessica. So my question for you is, I noticed as a DJ, it's harder to get an agent or any recognition from like agencies for representation versus producers. What is the threshold for DJs to get an agent? Because there are some cases where DJs do have representation and get gigs that way, but like everywhere left and right, I'm like, well, you don't produce, so we can't really do much for you. Even though I feel like, you know, I'd like to get more gigs that way.
All right. So to answer that, one, it really depends on your brand and how much your brand has reach. Like kind of similar to the way Instagram influencers are. Like, so a lot of agents and also managers, they look at potential. They look at what you can be in front of. You know, like you don't necessarily have to be there just right there. But let's say like you know, like somebody. There are DJs that don't produce, but if you notice, most of them have like a pretty robust social media like presence. Like there's a platform for them that they speak about. Like sometimes, you know, like maybe they're advocate for the LGBTQ community. Like I believe there's a woman called Whitney Day. I don't think she produces, I think she just DJs, but because that's her platform, it's a massive platform to be on, and that's how she gets gigs. You know, like, and, you know, as far as representation is concerned, like, you know, like you, as an agent, you look at it, it's like, okay, well, she has a huge following in this field, so I can pitch her for these things. Like, so if you're a DJ and you're just like, okay, I only do, let's say your thing is like turntablism, right? There's a market for that, all right? Like, actually, to be honest with you, we're in the perfect place to create a platform for that. Like, you know, like there's classes here and other people that that might be into that you can connect with. So. Often at the very beginning, like artists or like DJs that get together like that, they do showcases with not just them, but a group of people. So you maybe, to get your brand a little bit bigger, you do it as a group first. Like, hey, like let's do like a turntablist exposition of like what you specialize in using like two 1200s. I specialize in using like a drum machine, like, and things like that, and then essentially, to answer your question, is like, how do you get an agent? It's basically building your brand, and basically like expanding your reach. Like, if production is not for everybody, if you don't want to produce music and you want to DJ, it's a little bit more difficult. I'm not going to lie to you, like, but at the same time, there has to be some kind of marketable angle to it. Anyone else? Come up.
Hey, my name is Eden. I work here. When is like a good time to become an LLC? I know you said, I guess, you hit a certain gross income, but like, do you have like a range that you could suggest?
So, for me, for my artist, like, you know, like, I basically told one of my artists, like, hey, you know, like, let's match what I asked this person, like, what do you make on a yearly basis from your original job, right? So I said, like, if we get to 2/3 of that, right, like, and we make a consistent income at that rate, all right, like, then let's look into an LLC, okay? Because, like, you can't, you know, like, obviously, if you're making like a small amount of money and then you're like writing stuff off against it with your LLC, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, you want to make sure your income is at a point where, like, you know, it's obviously that threshold is different for different artists, but I think that's a good way to gauge it. Does that make any sense? Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
To go on about doing the LLC, I used to work at Chase maybe 3-4 years ago as a banker. I left Chase to pursue my career or my dream as a photographer. Worst mistake, I was broke a lot of the time, but now that I'm more consistent with my job as a photographer and videographer, travel, have people pay off my flights and hotels, have people pay off my things, an LLC was a great investment. I'm not saying I'm rolling in money. I still struggle here and there, don't get me wrong, but definitely make sure that when you do make the jump, you have backup plans, have money saved up, because you're gonna have some months, weeks where you have no money to like have, and it's gonna be very stressful to even do anything, and you feel like you're gonna miss out on a lot of things. So when you do the LLC, make sure you have a backup plan and have money saved up on the side.
That speaks to what I said earlier in the talk, wherein I told you maybe it's not the smart thing to quit your day job right away, like, and saving up during, like, when you have your day job and there's costs that you're going to have to like deal with, like that the beginning of your DJ career is not going to be able to pay for. So, like, you know, what he said about like having savings to invest in your career is definitely a good idea. And anyone else? All right. I think that's it. Like, if anybody else has any general questions for me, I'm happy to answer. So you're asking how I pick? Yes. Okay. So my personal process, I tend to pick diamonds in the rough. Like I don't really chase after like what's that made like artists that are already established. Okay. First off, I have to really be into their music. Like pretty much everybody on my roster, I listen to their music every other day. Like you know, I check out what they're doing. That's number one. Number two, the other thing that I look for is potential. Like if you know, like there are artists that they have no idea I've been to their DJ gigs. Like and I'm like literally looking at like how they present themselves. Like if they're blowing out the room and they're the opener, like that's really usually a red flag for me. Like you know, like play your time slot. Don't, you know, like just because you have a gig and you're opening for like Skrillex doesn't mean you should be playing 5 of his songs and playing the hardest dubstep ever. You know, like I mean, I know that sounds really stupid, but the thing is, it's like knowing that an artist has the what's that awareness that when they're playing is part of it also. Usually also like when I meet them, I talk to them, you know, like if they're one, obviously if we get along. Two, if the artist like is fairly professional with what they're talking about and what they're requesting, what they're asking about. Like if an artist comes, even if I love their music, if an artist if I approach them and they're like right away like no, I know what I'm doing. I know and I basically meet somebody that's a know-it-all. Like that, to me, that's a red flag. I don't care how good your fucking music is. It's like I just know right away that like because you're not open to if you're not open right away, maybe it's not from me, maybe it's from a label, maybe it's from a promoter down the line. If you're not gonna listen to me, you're not gonna listen to anybody else down the line. All right. So if that's a big thing for me, like being hungry, not only as an artist but also as someone that wants to learn. It's the biggest thing for me. Like if I meet somebody that is very, they spend all their time learning how to produce this and that. They ask questions or whatever. I'd rather mess with somebody like that than somebody that doesn't like spend any time like growing. Does that make any sense? Yeah. Excuse me? Style? Actually, that's a great question. Yes, style does matter. Like, obviously, that's a factor. Like, because part of the things that I do is I do stuff in branding. So, like, obviously, like, you know, there's certain things that works in different, I guess, with different brands. You know, like if you look the part of something that I'm already involved in, right? Like, for example, I have relationships with Converse. You know, like if I see you and like I'm looking at you, it's like, oh, you know, I think this artist would look really great, and like it looks like the campaign that somebody that I noticed like trying to push. Then right off the bat in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, this person can fit here, right? Like it's a bigger picture kind of situation. Not like, again, what I said about like different income verticals. Sometimes it's not always about music. I would love it to be, you know, Like, it's also another, with also both of your questions, fashion and like, and so on. Like, also, you know, I take a look at like behavior on social media. You know, if an artist is constantly attacking another artist on social media, I most likely won't want to work with them. Like, you know, like if, even down to what they're saying on social media. Like, you know, like, you know, like, because those are the kind of representatives that like some brands are looking at. You know, like, so again, when it comes to style, like, if I see you tweeting that you hate like Versace or something like that, obviously, like well, there goes half of the pitches that I had intended for you. You see, you know what I mean? Yes. Come over here because you're too far. Yeah.
Hello, what's up, y'all? How do you gauge the value of self-releasing versus shopping material out to labels?
I actually meant to go over this. Thank you. So, self-releasing is actually a great way to kind of like test out like where you're at. Like, I mean, it's very easy to self-release. You can like sign up to DistroKid. Maybe like put some money into some PR, you know, like and self-release. Now, I personally feel that self-releasing is a good way to like start off your career. Like, one, you likely will retain the rights to your own music. You're not signing away you, like either your masters or even half of your publishing to a record label. All right. Two, if you self-release and then let's say you make some better music down the line, but the thing is you want to release some of your older music, you can always license older music down the line to a bigger label. I actually did that with one of my artists. One of my artists released an EP, and it didn't do so well, like at least where I felt that artist should have been. And then I basically pitched that EP to a bigger label called He, She, They. And then we got it signed to that label, and now that release, you know, there's one track that has at least 2 million plays, another smaller track that has 500,000 plays. On the flip side of that, you know, when you sign to a bigger label, you're also gaining a bigger machine to promote your release. The caveat to that is losing some control over your music. Does that answer your question? Anyone else? All right. You guys should just check out the whole complex. There's some really cool shit here that like you should look into.
Turn it off. Yeah, you guys feel free to stick around if you guys want to mess around with the CDJs of the production stations or any of the recording studio parts. We'll be open for another hour if you guys want to check some stuff out. And Alex, I'm sure will stick around for a little while to answer any other questions you guys might have. Thank you guys so much for coming.